Share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Hey guys, it's Nick. 93.7 The Ticket is excited to be broadcasting this weekend from Stillwater, Oklahoma, as the Big Ten champion Nebraska baseball team appears in their first regional since 2021. From Friday through Monday, Austin and I will have pregame shows, postgame reactions, interviews, and other thoughts from Stillwater as the Huskers begin their road to Omaha. If you're making the trip down there, make sure you join Austin and I on Friday from 12 to 2 from the Garage Burgers and Beer in Stillwater, located just 3 blocks away from O'Brate Stadium. Regional coverage is presented by Mullen Motors, Sandhills Global, and Blur Events. It's NCAA baseball tournament coverage live from Stillwater, Oklahoma, this Friday through Monday on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now. In our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is the Don't Punt Hour with former Nebraska receiver.
Throwing over the middle, completes the pass. He's got speed to the end zone. Touchdown. 45 yards.
And return specialist.
This time he beats the kicker and one more.
DeMornay Pierson-El.
Not only does the sideline have confidence in Pierson-El, but Pierson-El has confidence in Pierson-El.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weeknights. Once again, Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. We are on the brick and mortar as well. We got no Royals tonight, so if you guys want to join in on the show, Starter Heyman text line always open to you guys. 402-464-5685. Just wrapped up with We Talk Facts. We had Lester Johnson, and as well as a great former Husker running back. Be sure to go back and watch that one. Of course, the host is always Eric Strickland. But nonetheless, we do got DeMornay Pierson-El in here. DeMornay, how's it going? Rain's cleared up. Looks like it's a little bit nicer weather. I know Omaha was in a bit of a downpour earlier today. But how's it going on this, Thursday? Week's flying by. How's it going on?
Not too bad. I can't complain about the rain. My car needed a wash. So
DeMornay, we're having audio problems. Not quite catching your audio here. I got you unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Fill some gaps here. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's on your end. I'll plug you out for a second, and I'll give you about 60 seconds here, and I'll fill some time. But we do got DeMornay Pierson-El out here. He'll be joining us shortly as soon as we can get that audio figured out so we can get his input. But, yeah, as far as the Thursday night goes, a little bit rainy. I know Omaha got a downpour, but we're getting towards the week here, and it's been somewhat of a quiet end of the week early on. It got pretty loud with, obviously, quite a few news stories that broke through the NCAA settlement versus the House settlement. And of course, you're seeing some of these deals in the NFL get extended. Shout out to the Chicago Bears, my Bears team. I will get to watch those guys for the Hard Knocks series. That's going to be starting on August 6th, which is always a lot of fun. And me and DeMornay Pierson-El talked about this. Which team would you really want to see in the Hard Knocks? And a lot of those, they're not going to show up at the Chiefs practice facilities. That's not something that the Chiefs need. It's always been a team that's kind of on the fringe, a Browns, a Colts, at one point the Detroit Lions. It's those teams typically on the come up trying to find themselves, build themselves back. The Bears is a perfect team for that because they got a lot of star talent there, but at the same time, it's never seemed to work for them. With that being said here, let's see if we give them one more shot here with the host as always, DeMornay Pierson-El. Let's see if we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're perfect. Now we're all set. So I don't know if you fixed it or if you just refreshed it, but nonetheless, we're glad to have your audio. But we'll rewind it. How's it going on this rainy Thursday, man?
It's not bad. Enjoying it.
Yeah, your Wi-Fi is.
Can you hear me now?
Too. Yep. We're just bear with us as we're going through it. I will say, normally once that Wi-Fi gets stable, it tends to stay stable, and you're all there. So repeat what you just said.
Said it's not too bad, enjoying the evening. Don't mind the rain.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I was talking before you hopped in here. The Chicago Bears, man, they got the hard knocks. We talked about this a little bit earlier. It's not going to be a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. It's not going to be a team or like the San Francisco 49ers. Typically, those fringe teams, Colts, Lions, this year Bears, Commanders, they kind of put it on those teams that really haven't had great seasons. This is great because this is actually a roster. Just the wide receiver core alone is probably, in terms of depth and top-end talent, it's one of the best. Now, do you trust the quarterback to put the ball in the pocket is the real question of this team. But are you going to be checking that out? Hard Knock series with the Chicago Bears. No, it's not your team, but you got to be at least a little bit curious to see how this thing works out with Caleb Williams, even if it's just for wanting to hate on it.
I'll definitely be watching. I think it'll be interesting. They got a lot of pieces. They have a good narrative. You have a generational talent, as they said, with him. So it'll be interesting, to see how they get things to work with him.
Yeah, it's you just look at the Bears, and this is why it's kind of a nerve-wracking situation. I almost can compare it a little bit to what the Huskers have in front of them now. You got your guy. If you don't start winning now, we don't know what to say. And you look at what the Huskers got. They got their quote-unquote guy. Yeah, I know he's a freshman. I know Caleb Williams is a rookie. But if he's this, transcendent player, a generational talent shows up pretty damn quick. If it's really, truly generational talent.
If you can protect him.
Yeah, well, that part. But I will say this, for Husker football, I feel pretty good about the offensive line. Bears, a little more nervous on that. And can they protect Caleb Williams long enough? But there's a lot of pressure because if the Bears mess this up, the fan base certainly isn't going to pay taxes on a new stadium if you guys just come out and look terrible this year. And that thing keeps getting shuffled along. They're still trying to figure out how they're going to pay for it, where they want it, if it's going to work to put it on the lakefront. I think the previous one kind of got shot down, mainly broke down between how much of the citizens actually going to be paying for this. And that was kind of the big stinker. Very similar to the Kansas City Chiefs, Royals, their stadium renovations they wanted to do. But how bad is this if the Bears just stink this year? And I'm talking close to last year. We're third, fourth, once again in the NFC North. They're not making any progress because that's the other part. That's a tough division. I mean, that's a really tough division. So you might not be able to expect greatness off the bat.
I mean, you are already the weakest team, in the division. Just because you drafted a generational talent quoted, guy, that doesn't mean you jump to the front of the line.
Yeah, but are you taking McCarthy and the Vikings over them?
Y'all are about even. I think y'all have a little bit more talent on offense and defense from skill position wise on both sides. It just depends, what McCarthy, is going to do. I like the coach, with the Vikings and whatnot, but I can't say it's all going to be on Caleb. I don't know about these coaches. Like, people get, written off. Justin Fields got written off because of a coach wasn't able to, to coach and get the best out of him. I wouldn't feel like, all the blame goes, just strictly on Justin. I mean, these coaches have a job to do, and quite frankly, they weren't good at doing that. So, I mean, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the results to be different. So, hopefully, they get it right with this time. Hopefully, things move in a different direction. He has a stronger supporting cast on offense. You got Swift, who I think is a very valuable running back who can catch out of the backfield. He's good, but pass pro, and he can be an every down back. You get a good tight end, and your receiver core, is arguably probably a top 5, I would say, receiving core just on paper, just with the guys there. So you have the keys to things, that they rebuilt, their D line. They got their star middle linebacker with one of the Edmond brothers. over from Buffalo a couple years ago, and he's been, tremendous there. So, they have pieces. They just pay, their star corner. They have pieces, but he's still a young guy, and you still have to protect him. The system still has to work for him. You kind of have to find the happy medium, and don't just make him adjust to what you want to do. You kind of have to adjust and find out what he does good and get things rolling from there.
Yeah, I'm with you on the coaches. That's the part that scares me the most, because Eberflus, he gave me some hope towards the end of the year.
Vrabel's still out there.
What's that?
I said Vrabel's still out there.
Yeah, this is where it gets nightmarish, because you look at Justin Fields' situation, and certainly a fair share of blame goes on that coaching staff. I mean, he was
you would say that, but I mean, how the media has related stuff, they pass over that and he's just a bust. And it's like, if you really look at what he was doing, he was actually putting him in a lot better position than what they had. I feel like he was better than Trubisky. I know Trubisky may have had one Pro Bowl season, but I mean, he also had Nagy as his head coach. Nagy comes from the Andy Reid tree. So I mean, he's back being the offensive coordinator now, with the Super Bowl champs. So Justin didn't necessarily have that. So the things are just different. I feel like, just me, he gets more of the blame than what he should.
He does. He gets a lot of the blame, and you mentioned it before. You kind of hinted at that offensive line. It was abysmal when he first got to the Bears. I mean, it was abysmal, and it was one of the worst offensive lines in the league. It showed in the run game, it showed in the pass protection, and he was still out there making ridiculous plays, getting them to at least a chance to try to make some sort of playoff push. Now, I will say part of the blame falls on him, because it's like, man, you got the Green Bay Packers, just beat them once. Like, the city wants you. They're chanting your name. We want Justin Fields. Beat the damn Packers. You got to pull off one of your performances, and he just didn't really show up in any facet. Now, you can look at the coaching staff, where it did feel weird this past season. They put him more in a pro style, and if you go 2 years back, it looks like he's running an offense with the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, the way they're letting him run, the way they're setting up runs for Justin Fields.
He's not Lamar. I mean, the guy was hurt. Your most valuable asset on the offensive side, and you're willing to throw him into the fire. Like, that's not smart.
I think there was situations where his passing accuracy was definitely a problem, and what he posed with his legs. Now, I'm not saying let's make sure he's our leading rusher game in, game out, but I do like the idea of drawing some plays up, because when you have someone that athletically dynamic, and he got better at it too, understanding when to slide, when to just go out. He was fast enough to put that in the back of defense's head, that they really had to keep an eye on him, have some sort of spy, because he was going to kill you if you didn't. So I don't mind having some of those running plays built in, and I thought that's what they really exceeded at, because they're still mixing it up well with the passing game 2 years back, and his passing numbers actually looked a lot better, because he was such a running threat, and I felt like it put defenses a little more on edge, made those windows a little bigger. But at the end of the day, it came down to that passing accuracy, and they couldn't figure out what they ever really wanted to do with him on offense. At least that's what it felt like on the outside. Now, the defense rallied, and that's what really kept that team alive towards the end there and gave them a shot to force the Green Bay Packers out. The Green Bay ends up going on beating the Dallas Cowboys, one of the youngest teams ever, scary in the NFC North. But they had a chance, and they end up kind of falling apart. And again, the offense looked clunky. The defense just kind of fell apart. But for the most part, that defense rallied. And I don't know how much of that's Eberflus keeping that team's hopes and dreams alive, but the team certainly rallied around Eberflus. So that's the only kind of part of my opinion that sways, is our defense was getting towards the elite towards the end of the year, and the team didn't quit on it. And I've seen a lot what it looks like when teams quit on their coach, and it's ugly, and it's always a no-brainer that coach needs to go because he's lost the locker room completely. He still has the locker room. Do you have any hope for Eberflus to get this team going?
Is Eberflus on the hot seat? Or does he have 2 years because he has a rookie quarterback?
That's the worst part, and I hate this, but like I think you got to give him 2 years, unless this year just looks awful.
No,
I mean, if it looks awful, then you're cutting him loose.
I think his seat is very, very warm. You have a lot of good coaching candidates that didn't get a job.
Yeah, that's the point.
This past year, so if things don't look on track, and it's more so it looked similar how it did with Fields and everything. And if it's more of the same, and it's not of a progress, from they've shown something different, or with more times it can be perfected, I think he's out. So I think he's on the hot seat. It's very, very warm. I wouldn't say hot, but it's very, very warm. If it's not looking right, he's gone.
Yeah, there's certainly a small campfire. Not quite a big campfire, but a small one underneath the seat right now.
You have Belichick out there.
That's what I was just thinking. Like, is there a world where Bill Belichick says, you know what, I want back in, and he's a Chicago Bear?
You have, Vrabel still out there, which I think is crazy that he doesn't have, a head coaching job. What he did with Tennessee and, the talent of what they had down there, they were a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
Outside of
Chicago too, he'd fit really well in Chicago. His kind of his DNA, his mannerism, and obviously he's not going to just do the Derrick Henry bit if he doesn't have Derrick Henry. He's not an idiot coach. He'd be flexible. But in terms of like the DNA and his style, Chicago.
I'm telling you. So I think the Bears head coach, if things aren't looking right or promising for year 2 with Caleb, he's gone.
I could see that. I mean, we just live in a world where I wouldn't be totally against it. I would only be like really nervous about it if they put together a good season and then they're still just not good enough. Kind of Nebraska-esque, where it's like, nah, not good enough for us. A little different, but
you got Hard Knocks in there. They're going to be everywhere. So like he's like everything's going to be bugged, everything's going to be seen. So there's no narrative. Oh, it's just him. No. They'll have live bits, everything in there to prove that you're not doing your job well. So I think with them having Hard Knocks adds more pressure, because you can't come up with your own narrative or your own excuses, because it's going to be out there weekly.
Yeah, and let's get some opinions here. This is a good one because we got Ellis in Illinois. Obviously, I'm assuming a Bears fan. Talking about Justin Fields, they ruined him. Fellas, the Bears called the plays that didn't fit Fields at all, kind of what we were talking about earlier. And this is a good point, because the Bears definitely would probably even agree with Ellis on this one, because they paid him a bunch of money to keep him around. When the Bears traded for Montez Sweat, everything for that defense changed, had nothing to do with Eberflus. And Montez Sweat, you can definitely make that argument. I mean, he was a massive turning point for sure, that defense, and that's why they gave him a fat contract to make sure he sticks around. Now, I will still say I felt like the team, you could say Montez Sweat's the reason, but even if he was the reason, the team got a lot more faith in Eberflus as a result, because the press conferences got a lot nicer. If you're watching those press conferences earlier, it was like, they weren't calling him out, but it just felt like everybody was kind of uncertain. And they'd say it was all coach speak. And then to the end, it felt like just genuine excitement about the team's direction. I'm still with you. I think it's a little bit of a hot seat. That's your point of how many good coaches out there is really making me change my mind.
I mean, who's to say or who's to stop, is the grass greener on the other side when you got, I'm not to say he's not established. I mean, he's a coach. He's one of 32 in the NFL. So, for him to even get that, says a lot about, who he is. Mm-hmm. But, you got some high quality names on the other side of the fence that, people might start to get the peeking and be like, you know what? We'll give him some time, because, he had this. And even with Belichick, the defense was still, a top defense. Their offense just couldn't score. Yeah. So, I mean, same thing with what Tennessee had. They were tough. They gave Kansas City a headache. Every time Kansas City played Tennessee, that wasn't a blowout game. They went blow for blow. Same thing, with Baltimore in the regular season.
And Tennessee robbed Baltimore in that playoff. That would have been.
So, I mean, if you can, recreate, that type of thing, and they're free. And of course, they might not want it because there may be other jobs out there. But I mean, if you can get in a position like that and you have a rookie quarterback under contract for 4 or 5 years to do things and everything like that, to kind of rebuild. And Vrabel, for example, he's already established that he can, change the organization's, DNA. So, that may be something, that they may look at. That is why I say that, that coach, he might not have no time. Like his time is this year, and if it doesn't look right, there's a door.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, you don't have a lot of excuses. You got the quarterback you wanted. You got probably. I don't want to say probably. You could argue. I mean, I should bring it up. The Dolphins. I was going to mention the wide receiver core. One of the best wide receiver cores. I mean, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. You've got some pieces. I know you let go of Mooney, but you're okay with that one. I think Mooney's a great player. He's a great asset.
He'll be a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I think he's always going to be a solid 3 on any team he lands on. He could definitely make that position. He was one of Fields' favorite targets for a long time because he's still a hell of a receiver.
Yes,
the guys you got in, you feel pretty good, but you're still looking at the Dolphins. They just signed Jalen Waddle, the wide receiver, to another nice deal, 3-year, $84.75 million contract extension, includes $76 million guaranteed.
Got that early.
The Dolphins, because he had the back problems. I mean, I had him on my fantasy team, and I mean, it was every week. You just were never sure about that guy. When he's playing and he's healthy, he's awesome. But man, those back spasms last year, and anytime you get those back issues, you can kind of reference Michael Porter Jr. in the NBA. I know he's good now, but what a bumpy and long road to kind of get that under control. $76 million guaranteed for a guy that's just kind of been in and out of the injury room. How do you feel about that one?
Too. I said he's your wide receiver too. I mean, you paying Tariq 100 M's, and you paying him, right there. I mean, he pretty much got the same thing as the McLaurin deal. That's pretty much, what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, that's what you want to get, to a second contract. And they rather pay him now than wait to pay him because it could only get worse. His health, has been kind of an issue or whatnot. But, I mean, you just added Odell to that situation. You got 3 first-round, receivers on that. Who's going to get you? Well, we know Tariq's going to get, obviously the best corner matchup. But your second best and third best corner are going against, arguably, number 1s and number 2s. That can play anywhere, on any other NFL team. So it's going to be hectic, guarding them and whatnot. It takes the pressure probably a little bit more off of Waddle because you have Odell there that you still have to respect. I mean, we seen it, what he was doing in Baltimore this last year, even coming off of, 2 ACL injuries. You still have to respect him. And, speaking from recovering from an ACL injury, a year after your injury, year 2, getting to 2 years away from it, you bounce back and you feel more comfortable. So watch out for that.
Absolutely. And with that being said, we'll throw it to break. I'll throw this teaser on what we'll talk about. We'll see how long. Maybe it takes the entire segment. But I want you to think about who's the first NFL coach to get fired, get canned next season. We got some good candidates. I hate to say that. It's a weird term to use, but we got a row of great candidates who are on the quote-unquote hot seat. And we'll shout out to Ellis here. Because, again, I'm assuming their candidate's probably Eberflus. It's become pretty well known in Chicago that Eberflus is not going to blow people away with his intelligence. He is what Husker fans would call a slow blinker. So, with that being said, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that's their hot seat selection. But if you guys want to join in, 402-464-5685, always welcome to do so. Streaming Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Outlaw Channel 961. Great way to put a face to the voice. We'll throw it to break. Talk to you guys in just a little bit.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Have a passion for the outdoors? Nebraska Game and Parks is seeking seasonal teammates. Work in scenic state parks, contribute to vital research projects, and care for our natural spaces. Seasonal staff assist with special events, provide customer service to outdoor enthusiasts, and make a difference for conservation. Join the adventure at outdoornebraska.gov. Apply online today.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Park. Aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Do you need motivation to get to the gym on the weekend or even in general? Tune into the Movement Hour each Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m. Movement Academy owner Robert Kuhlman will host the show as he introduces new ways to stay in shape. The Movement Hour every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 a.m. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Join On the Block and Old School live from Scissors and Scotch on 30th and Yankee Hill on Thursday, June 6th to celebrate their grand opening. Feel better instantly with a beard trim, haircut, or a traditional shave courtesy of the experienced and professional barbers at Scissors and Scotch. Stick around after your cut and enjoy a beverage in their cozy bar area, and don't worry, there's more than just Scotch. Spend your afternoon with Scissors and Scotch at 93.7 The Ticket, live on location June 6th from 2 to 6 p.m.
Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Problem gambling can destroy an individual's finances, relationships, physical, and mental health. If you are a loved one or struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
.93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
This is the Don't Punt Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, DeMornay Pierson-El.
All right, welcome back in to Ticket Weeknights. Once again, Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. As always, we got the host, DeMornay Pierson-El, streaming in. You guys can join in as you have been so far. 402-464-5685. Unknown texter sends in a YouTube video. I think he wants us to talk about Nebraska. I believe the quote is Matt Rule taking advantage of the college football landscape, something along those lines. We'll see if we have time for it. But in the meantime, I did tease. Let's try to figure out when it comes to NFL coaches, especially in today's era, it's even worse than the NBA, but NFL, not too far off. It's rotating chairs when it comes to head coaches. Who do you, DeMornay Pierson-El, looking at the situation, maybe some of their past resume, is the first head coach to go in the NFL?
McCarthy, Cowboys head coach.
Okay, so you are thinking McCarthy. He's up there, but I don't know if he's my number one, but he's not far from it. He's not far from it.
Between him and the Giants head coach, those are like my top two.
Yeah, okay. Brian Dable, he might be in there too. Head coach, what do you think about Doug Peterson for the Jags?
No.
You think they just hold on just because it's been such a tumultuous process already?
You have a Super Bowl winning coach down there. Your star quarterback got injured.
Yeah.
They've been playing well. You know, you've won the division in the past 3 years. You've won playoff games. In the last past 5 or 6 years. So I think I think he's safe. You get a healthy, face of the franchise, you're fine. I don't think he has anything to worry about.
Let's talk about your Raiders. Now, I'm not saying Antonio Pierce gets fired, but there's a chance. Does the
your head coach is more likely to get fired than AP?
Yeah, okay, Eberflus is up there, but we spent the first segment talking about how much we don't, and then Ellis comes in out of nowhere, doubling down on the Eberflus slander. I can't even call it slander. They brought up some really great points, especially with the Montez Sweat. But I think Eberflus, he's definitely up there. I mean, if he messes this up, you look at the wide receiver room, the offensive line's finally serviceable, nowhere near the Eagles or, even you can even argue like Cowboys, but nowhere near that level, but serviceable nonetheless. And then the defense is clearly good enough to go to the playoffs. So if you fail, it's clearly on the coaching staff. The players are in place. It's got to be, unless Caleb Williams just does not look like that guy at all, you can maybe scapegoat on him. But
so
if you can figure it out with Justin Fields and you can't figure it out with Caleb Williams, something tells me it's you, not them.
Who's your pick then? What coach is on the seat?
I actually think it might be. I think it might be the Giants head coach. I think it still might be the Giants.
From what he did, in his first season there, I feel like it was always something in the news with them, whether it's Daniel Jones, whether it's Tooney, or the coaches fighting and everything like that. It was just it was always something going on. I'm not saying he has the locker room lost. I think he's a good coach. I like him. I like what he brings to the table. I think, he gets things done. He's really good at, evaluating quarterbacks, getting them to play better. Because Daniel Jones did play better. Now, I don't believe he deserved the $40 million deal he got.
No, he played good, but yeah, I'm with you.
But it wasn't that good. It wasn't that good.
It was serviceable.
But since then, it feels like it's been a downward spiral. He's still my number 2. Like I said, I think it's McCarthy, and I don't think it's close at all. Jerry is not one to sugarcoat things. He's come out straight forth and said things. And when you have Jerry, not really saying anything, I feel like that's a bad position to be in. Jerry is in a position to not pay Dak. You've had arguably, a team that could get you to the NFC Championship, and yet you've always had, a first round bye. First round knockout.
Yeah. So a team that's incredibly young and inexperienced, I will say. Good coaching staff, but come on, man. That team was a bunch of 23, 24-year-olds kick your butt. And you were supposed to be the best offense in the league. You're way older, you're stronger, you're bigger. It was. I also am not a Packers fan, so maybe that's why it just upset me so much. But like, my Lord, the Cowboys make it easy sometimes for the haters to come out of the woods because they just seem to fall flat on their face every time the playoffs come around.
I think if he doesn't win the NFC East, and if he doesn't at least get to the NFC Championship, I think he's done.
I can buy into that timeline.
The last 3 years they've won over 10 games, and you lost in the first round where you've let a top wide receiver in Amari Cooper, you let him go, and you still reload with CD and what's the kid, Michael Gallup. You still reloaded with them. You let Zeke go away. You changed the identity of what the Cowboys were and whatnot, and yet you still come up short still. So if it's not NFC Championship, you're gone.
Yeah, because he's got he always backs it up with regular season wins, but it's like, what happens in the playoffs? Like at some point it catches up to you. It's kind of where I always use these NBA comparisons because the coaching carousel is pretty active in both of them, but it kind of reminds me of like almost like Doc Rivers, but teams are just way more patient. Like Jerry Jones just been incredibly patient with him. But it's like you have this on your resume and you have like the wins and loss total looks great, but something about the playoffs, you fall short. And that's the reason why people kick the can on you. This year, we might see something similar to that, where it's not the win-loss total. It's like, man, I don't know what happens in the postseason, but no matter how great you are in the regular season, it just completely falls apart. What about a guy like Nick Sirianni for the Eagles? I know he might be in a situation where I don't think he'll be anywhere near the first coach fire. He'd be like somewhere way later in the process. But he had an interesting run last year where it's fun when you're winning a lot and you can kind of be that feisty coach in the post-game press conferences, say some things that kind of right on the lines of being a smart A. And then when you start losing, it looks really bad. Then all that talk you were doing starts to bite you in the butt. And then people are kind of mocking you for it. You lose trust a little bit. People aren't buying the moxie. I don't know if it'd be this year, but I do feel like the Eagles, Nick Sirianni, things are getting a little shaky.
You lost both your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator. They took head jobs, other places. So now you have, two other people stepping up to the plate to fill those shoes. And, the players have to adjust to things. Things are called differently. Things are done differently. And that takes time. I don't think he's on a hot seat. He was very boisterous, of what things were. But, I mean, they were still a playoff team. They were one game away from, winning their conference. If you fire him, where do you go? I mean, you can that.
What's the same danger as Mike McCarthy? Like it's
no.
Man, every time we have this, and I hate football, but I can't help but think of Nebraska football.
If you plug in Belichick or Vrabel into that Cowboys team, they're going.
Yeah, if you get one of those,
they're going past the first round.
Don't hire again. Make sure you have that locked up. If you're going to go that route, don't do what we did. We know what happened. Find a coach that's got a good find a coach that has the record of what you're looking for. Don't go the other direction.
No,
make sure it's there and available.
Find a coach that fits where you want to go in the future.
Yeah,
not just the opposite of what you had there and everything like that. Find somebody that you feel like that can represent your organization and moving forward.
Yeah, you got to find I like it. If you can get one of those great coaches that you mentioned, absolutely. I don't hesitate for a second. If I know that's real, they're down. We got the money to do it. Everyone's like, yes, 100%. Again, we'll see what happens this season if it actually comes to that. But certainly one I would consider. Now, this isn't the coach I don't think is going to be fired. But since we only got a little bit of time left on this segment, I feel like we owe them the conversation. Todd Bowles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think we're off the firing, but the Buccaneers with their division, is that a team that we should keep eyes on next year with Baker Mayfield? They trusted a lot of money in him. Shout out Trey Palmer. Mike Evans still down there. I mean, put it together. He's just consistently 1,000-yard seasons, and they're in a pretty cruddy division. I mean, it's kind of laid out for them again.
They're in probably the weakest division. Another coach that I was thinking of, maybe getting fired was the Saints coach, just because of how weak, things are.
Where's Sean Payton at now? Broncos.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I feel like that division is wide open. It's anybody games, the games that can win. Todd, I like Todd. He's an offensive minded coach. What he was dealt with, he won you a playoff game after Brady, after a Super Bowl. They won their conference, so I feel like he's probably already exceeded expectations, and it's something that you can build on. Offensively wise, I mean, Baker got paid. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, a year one with a offensive coordinator, that stepped into, that role. I think he's delivered. I don't think he's in a bad position or he's on a hot seat and everything like that, because, I mean, Bruce Arians got you a Super Bowl, but, I mean, honestly, that was Tom Brady. Tom Brady in the defense.
Yeah, the defense destroyed the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I mean, that was the most defensive win I've seen in a long time.
And even after that, he still got you a playoff win. He still got you winning the division. And that's what it's about. So I don't think he's in a position to worry. I don't think that'll. He's worked with Baker, and people written Baker off. Baker was a journeyman, and he can't play this and that, and yet he signed $100 million contract. So obviously he was doing something right, and now So I'm not worried about Tampa Bay at all.
No, I'm not either. I wanted to bring that up because it's like, let's put some of these good coaches out there. Buccaneers.
I'm more nervous for the Cleveland Browns head coach than Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and Dennis Allen, Saints head coach. I was trying to pull up in my head here. But yeah, I want to bring up Todd Bowles because that's a team where I feel like with their division, with Baker, again, that's the guy who goes walk on the Heisman, then goes to the NFL, kind of a fringe guy, goes over to play the Rams for a short contract. And everyone's like, oh, hey, this guy can. I mean, he just got the playbook yesterday, and he's playing a hell of a game here. The Buccaneers take a chance on him. He plays pretty well. Mike Evans likes the connection they have. Trey Palmer certainly enjoyed the first year with Baker Mayfield. They bring him back on, and to me, it's like kind of like the DeMeco Ryans, where like the team is really around Bowles, and for the right reasons. Like he consistently seems to exceed expectations. And you mentioned the Browns head coach. You saying that this is one we need to watch out for? Like he might be canned pretty quick here. And Stefanski.
That one's tough just because look at the division he's in. Yeah. I think literally all of those teams in that division can make the playoffs. Like that's one of the tougher divisions in the NFL right now. So I give him a little bit of leeway, but Deshaun is gonna have to. You're gonna have to change up your offense that you were calling to fit something more so of what Deshaun does well. Mm-hmm. And if you can't get that done, I think he's out of there.
Yeah, well, that division's brutal. That's a division where if you want to hire a head coach and then figure out if it's the right head coach or not, it's kind of like where the Big Ten's at today, where you look at the coaches across the Big Ten, it's like, man, I don't even know if the guy I have is bad or if we're just in a conference with a bunch of great coaches. Because you look at Illinois and Brett Bielema and people kind of having rumblings, man, it's just, I think if they have a bad year, people are going to be kind of freaking out. And I still think Brett Bielema is a fantastic coach. Like he brought Illinois to some sort of relevance. Things kind of fell short. COVID really killed him too. I mean, that whole
COVID killed a lot of people. So I mean, I don't hold that against them. I mean, Wisconsin fired their coach during COVID. Mm-hmm. So and they haven't really been the same. So it's like I said, they've won 10 games. They've won their conference. Like I said, if Deshaun can't get over the hump, and you don't change your offense to fit something that fits, what he does, I think, there's an issue there. But you're playing against Joe Burrow. You're playing against Mike Tomlin, who's never had a losing season. You're playing against Lamar. Like that's a heavyweight conference. That's not an easy conference to play in. And he's won 10 games in that conference. He's won the conference. He's won the division. So I think they like him. I think, he's okay. But like I said, if the offense doesn't look well, or you don't change things up to fit, Deshaun a little bit better, I think, they might have to reevaluate things.
Yeah. And hopefully, this is Nick Chubb going to be fully back and healthy start the season? I'd imagine, right? He's got to be. I haven't read up on any news, but I mean, he's going to be a massive part of that because the Browns, I mean, their defense has really helped them out a lot too, keeping them alive. And maybe that's why the defense is so good. When you have to go against great teams in your division over and over and over again, you're probably going to, I mean, iron sharpens iron is the cheesiest quote out there, but it's absolutely true. When you got to worry about a Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, elite wide receivers, you're going to figure some things out on the fly. It might take some ugly scores to get there, but clearly the defense has been strong for them. It's just about that offense. If they can get it consistent enough, they can make waves in that division, but it's absolutely stacked. With that being said, we'll throw it to break here. On the other side, we'll have a little bit of time left. The game's already started, but we got the Mavericks, Timberwolves, who's going to be playing the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk about that on the other side.
Your child was embarrassed when you arrived at their basketball game. 75% of parents or guardians report current alcohol use. Drinking alcohol can cause harm to children and loved ones. By drinking less, your child will be excited to see you at their basketball game. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Old School with DP and J.
Thurman Thomas and Bruce set me up like, what are you going to do? And we've been in the playoffs, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go kick it, just go home and relax. They were like, nah, you need to train all the way through the Super Bowl. And I'm like, why? But he said, you want to make sure that your body's always conditioned to go to the final day. But I think the Timberwolves are out of gas mentally, which then has them physically looking a step slow.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. On the block with Strick and Austin.
Hey, he looked as advertised. He looked really good in the spring game. And because of that, we're going back to a bowl game this year, is what Husker fans are telling them. So I think the fans have a more realistic perspective, and I think this coaching staff has done a really good job of handling Dylan Raiola and the expectations around him.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Alcohol has strained our relationship. Drinking too much can cause harm to friends, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, we will save our relationship. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Whether you like fishing together or fishing to get away, for the thrill of reeling in a big one, or just going out to have a good time, on the banks of your local pond, at a bend in a river, or on one of our many lakes and reservoirs, you'll always find the perfect place to cast a line, here, beneath Nebraska skies. Start planning your next fishing adventure today at letsfishnebraska.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Play ball! Tired of the same old routine? Then bring your crew out to Haymarket Park for a thrilling season of Lincoln Salt Dogs baseball and unleash the fun. Enjoy action-packed home games all week long from May through August. It's the perfect change-up to the typical family night or makes for a home run outing with friends and coworkers. Experience the magic and get in on the excitement. Visit saltdogs.com to secure your tickets now. Unleash the fun.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning. Now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
This is the Don't Punt Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, DeMornay Pierson-El.
All right, wrap it up here with the Don't Punt Hour. Once again, DeMornay Pierson-El streaming in, the host as always, Harrison Arns on the ones and twos, back at 1040 O Street on the corner at the 93.7 Ticket Studios. We got a little bit of time here left if you guys want to join in. Give your thoughts on this NBA Finals game. We got the Dallas Mavericks leading the Minnesota Timberwolves 24-18, 402-464-5685. And I'll be honest, right now, Timberwolves, kind of the last thing you want to say. Luka Doncic erupted pretty immediately with 12 points, had 12 of their 16, while Minnesota only had 12. Pretty hot start for Luka Doncic. I think that's kind of the last thing you want to see. Looking at Kyrie Irving, he's only got about 2 points, but we've seen that before. Well, those two guys kind of. Yep.
They can manage. I'm not too worried about. They came off of beating the reigning MVP, and he was at least averaging at least 20. I think it might have been one game he got under 20, but yeah. So I'm not worried about Luka starting hot. We've said stuff with him being consistent. So if he's consistent on the offensive end, go at him defensively, and I think that's a little bit of what they did the last game. So we'll see. First quarter, that's fine and dandy. I think Minnesota will hang.
Yeah, it's only a 6-point game right now. It sits, and again, that's not bad considering the hot start that Luka had. You'll take 6-point deficit, pretty easy to come back from. You came back from 20 in Game 7 against the reigning champs, like you said, so you're definitely not sweating about 6-7 points. But yeah, when it comes to this, can they extend this out? Maybe it's this game, but can they extend it all the way to a Game 7 and try to take this things out of the jaws of defeat?
I think they win tonight. I think Game 6 is where a little trouble might get in because they're playing in Minnesota tonight, right?
Yeah, they're in Minnesota. They're home.
So I think if you go back to Dallas for that matchup and everything like that, 2 in a row is tough. 3 in a row, that's So like I said, I think they'll have enough gas in the tank, to get things done and situated tonight to 2-3. And then Game 6 will be, where I would be more of a concern at.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. I think I got the Mavericks wrapping it up tonight. I really do. I just think the Timberwolves will be interesting. I'm not going to write them off because this is a team when their back's against the wall. They've shown they've responded pretty well time and time again. But this one, I think it just caught them by a surprise, to go down that quickly, 3-1. And you're kind of sitting there thinking you just beat the reigning champs. Here comes the Dallas Mavericks, a little bit of different style with Luka and Kyrie, and they really haven't figured out a way to crack that code yet. Now the defense, it's been pretty good with Rudy Gobert out there, but again, they're finding ways to really mitigate.
Cat has to show up. I think that's been the part of things that has hurt them. He hasn't been as dominant or as showing up as he was, with the when they were against the Nuggets. Mm-hmm. So I think he has to, show up early and often. I think they were a little bit tired just coming out of that series because it took a lot out of them. But I don't think they're done. I don't think that it'll be over tonight.
Yeah, I think I'll disagree with you there. The NBA, when it comes to it, I picked the Denver Nuggets to be the champions, and there were second round exits. The only thing I got right so far was the Boston Celtics being in the finals. Some injuries along the way definitely helped me out, making that one come true. They were able to finally get a sweep over the Pacers. Now they're sitting there locked in if you're a Celtics fan, you got to feel good. You got to sweep. You finally did what you're supposed to do. You got a 6 seed in front of you. If you're the best record, take care of business, move on, give yourself the rest, because you might have the Dallas Mavericks or Minnesota Timberwolves. They're still in it. They got a shot. But as that sits right now, it's 30-18. And your guy, Karl-Anthony Towns, that you want to have the big night, he does got 2 boards at least right now. But I'm with you. He needs to play inside. He needs to be big, play rebounding, do what Anthony Davis did in that Mickey Mouse title. Go away from the outside game. I mean, just be a threat on the inside. That's how AD really, I don't want to say peaked, but one of his best playoff performances ever was in that Mickey Mouse tournament. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Once again, shout out to Morning Pierson-El, streaming in, the host as always. Harrison Arns on the 1s and 2s. We'll close out the show here and talk to you guys again tomorrow.